Welcome to the Everyday Carry Options podcast, where we help make EDC attainable for the everyday citizen. We're here today with Will and Aaron of Holland Tactical Solutions. How are you guys doing today?
Good. Glad you guys came out. You know, they ran across the state. It was a little bit snowy.
In a blizzard, yeah.
Yeah.
On Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah.
What's the Super Bowl? They kicked the ball in that, right?
I saw them out there swinging their football bats in the fairway.
Yeah.
Cubs looked good today.
Is that the period that they work with them that game?
Yeah.
Today we are in a giant factory building. So if you've got some echo from this, we're sorry, but the ceilings are high, the rooms are huge, and we are in a place where work gets done. So thank you for joining us. We're going to be learning a little bit about what Aaron and Will do here. These guys have a really amazing dynamic, I think, and the fact that they both have a couple of great skill sets, and neither one of them are really crossing over into the other guy's territory or skill set. So they just cover so much ground. So, for instance, Will, what are the couple of things that you do on your end of the business?
Well, I'll just give a little background. I started shooting when I was 9 years old, under some professional instruction at David Dobson Performance Shooting School, and then from there I've just been in love with guns my whole life. And then about 3 years ago, I came up with a product that went over the slide of a handgun into the serrations to give you a little bit more grip. Originally, I never thought I would start a tactical company, but then more people wanted them, and more people wanted them, and more people wanted them. And then we branched out from there to fill the voids that we saw were necessary in the industry. So that would be in Michigan, nice working holsters were hard to attain. So that was the next thing we went to. And then we noticed that our customers, they liked Cerakote options, and they like slide work, but everyone's so expensive that no one wanted to pay to have the work done. So what we provide on top of the rip grips and the holsters is we do Cerakote and slide milling for pretty much the everyday person. You know, we try and keep our packages under $200. It's not the fanciest stuff, but it's what you need to get the job done.
Awesome. We took some video earlier. Will was helping me do some old school millwork by hand. This wasn't CNC machine. We brought out, Alex and I both brought out our own handguns, and I was working on my own slide. He was showing me a little bit about the cool way to do this. So we'll have some video on that later. Now, Will, tell me a little bit about what is the rip grip?
So the rip grip, it's a silicone carbide piece of essentially grip tape that you peel off the backing and you slide into the rear serrations of your gun, and it folds over the top. That way, if your hands are wet, sweaty, muddy, bloody, anything like that, you can still get a nice grip on your gun, rack it back, clear a jam, what have you. And the nice thing is it's a semi-permanent fixture.
So it's like, it's instantaneous traction.
Yep. Exactly. You know, it's something that can be installed at the range, at home, or, you know, God forbid it comes off. It takes 2 minutes to reapply a new one. But most people who put them on, they put them on once and they just leave it on the gun. Because of the material we use, the grit, unlike normal sandpapers and stuff, doesn't wear off. So after years and years and years, you still have nice grip to the gun. It really shines in winter up here when we're wearing gloves, anything like that, just to give you a little more purpose on the firearm, increase that surface area of grip to not just the serrations, but up above the gun so that you can almost press down into it, get a lot of traction, and just make the gun easier to use and make shooting more fun for you.
Awesome. So it's a cost-effective option for somebody that that doesn't want to modify their gun.
Exactly. And the nice thing is, unlike all the big charging handles and stuff you can put on the back of a Glock, it doesn't increase the profile or anything like that. So all your holsters and everything you were using works just the same.
Awesome.
It's got to work well or something like that.
Right.
Exactly.
Nobody likes to pay their hard-earned money for something to have it fail. Now, who else? The other guy, Aaron. Aaron, tell us a little bit about your background and how you what you do.
To answer the question you had first asked, we both are firm believers that it kind of takes all kinds, to get anything done. And that it takes different kinds of skill sets to come together to create a good product, which, Will, he's a very technically minded guy. He's very mechanically inclined in those kind of ways. And then I do, a large majority of the other parts of the business. I have a creative background in photography, web design, graphic design, printing, a bunch of stuff of that nature. And so for us, we have a lot of areas that we just don't overlap on. Like you were saying, I handle a lot of our, customer relations, a lot of our web, logo, graphic design. I do all the Cerakote that we put out and things of that nature. Because, we've just decided and we've realized exactly, I think a lot of people in this line of work specifically from what I've noticed is you get a lot of people in a small company, they're all kind of four of the same guys that all have a very similar skill set, a very similar worldview, and they come from very different places in, concealed carry especially. Me and Will are very different in how we think about guns and, our beliefs, certain beliefs on carrying. We have different opinions on that. I think our customers and people that we relate to really like hearing kind of the two ends of the spectrum of someone who's, a little more technical, a little more precise about things such as that, and someone who's a little more of an everyday practical kind of person. And I think it gives a nice range there that, like you said, not everyone has in this line of work.
So you're telling me that two guys can work together in the same business and not agree 100% on everything?
We don't agree on a lot of stuff.
Okay, that's awesome. And that's how it should be. We have the same end goal in mind, and we find different roads to get to the same, the same destination.
Exactly,
right?
exactly. It's great because we can go two totally different routes. Like a lot of the stuff we do is graphic design. So we did like Matt Williams' logo and everything. And it normally starts out with us just talking, and then I'll literally draw stick figures on the Post-it note.
Poorly.
That's
Poorly drawn stick.
horrible. That's as far as my artistic, not proportional, smiley faces look like frowny faces, but he gets the general idea, and then I let him run with it. And then from there, we work with the customer, to bring in another opinion. Because I'm a firm believer that if you can take a whole bunch of information from a bunch of different people and then learn from everything, maybe you won't gather a good piece of information from everyone, but you'll at least learn examples of what's right, what's wrong, other people's ways of thinking. And I think that helps to keep us not stagnant. That's why we kept progressing the business, bringing out new products, and also changing the way we think and believe about shooting, the gun community, and everything in general. It's a always evolving thing.
So you guys, it's fair to say that you guys are, I don't want, maybe not neutral is the word, but you're ready to look at everybody else's ideas, take into consideration what their thought process is.
Okay. Of course, yeah. It's like, because no one has the right answer at the end of the day. I mean, there's no cut and dry, this is the correct way to hold a gun, this is the incorrect way to hold a gun, this is the correct way to reload, this is the incorrect way to reload. Because at some point, there's going to be a situation that comes up where what you think is the correct way won't work
for that person.
And if you're stuck in that situation with the, oh shoot, I'm stuck here, I don't know what to do because I only trained one way, I only stuck with one thing, you kind of cubbyhole yourself. And I feel like in both work and life, you have to get different opinions from everywhere, just don't stick with the same group of people.
That's a big thing too when we started that we both were kind of adamant about is, in the tactical community, there's very, like we said, one very specific kind of, let's say, personality that's represented, kind of more so than the others. And I think we can all, the first thing that pops in your mind right now of what that is, I'm sure is the correct idea. But the bottom line is,
and those are the ones that make a lot of people cringe.
Exactly.
But those are also the same guys that are getting all of their training on you.
Exactly, and they're usually the loudest. But exactly,
They're the loudest and know it the least.
Exactly, but the crux of the matter is, especially here in Michigan, is when it comes to people who carry, it's all kinds of people. And we found that specifically where we here in West Michigan, we get some redneck from the backwoods that wants to carry his Desert Eagle, on his lap. And then our next customer is, the head of African American Studies and
liberal studies.
Yeah, liberal studies and African American studies at MSU and such of that nature, and a couple schools. It really shows you that, all different kinds of people are like that. you know, just the focus almost of the media lens is kind of just put it on a certain community when in fact it's a lot broader than it is kind of made to believe.
Yeah, exactly.
And
It's like,
it represents more people.
Well, yeah, if you look at, I'm sorry, but, I'm sorry, I'm not sorry about this. If you listen, it doesn't matter what it is on television, but if you're looking at just what the news says and they tell you what is right or wrong, it's your fault you feel the way you do, and you're looking for somebody to be mad at, and you can't agree with it. But we're not allowed to be friends because we think something completely different.
which is one of the worst ways to go about life.
Right.
Is if you don't agree with someone based on, say, political, views, religious views, sexual preference, anything like that.
9 verse 40.
Yeah. 9 verse 40.
45.
I'm a 45 guy. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's like, then you're missing out on other opinions, expanding your mind, learning.
Right.
Because just because you don't agree on what that one thing doesn't make that other person a bad person.
No.
Or it doesn't negate all the other great things they have. Especially when it comes to like learning something like carrying a gun. It's a pretty serious topic, and it's a pretty serious thing that you choose to do. And if you only learn from one person with one set of ideals, you're never going to get the whole picture. You're never going to learn, you're never going to progress, and you're never going to teach yourself.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Basic rule of nature, you over specialize, breeding weakness.
That's right. You're right. Absolutely right. I like how you said that. Okay, so Holland Tactical Solutions. What is it that you say you bring to the customer? What is it? I mean, we know what your product is, but what is it?
The thing that we
what
always
is it
like to say is we bring confidence you can carry.
Yep.
A certain reliability of a lot of things that we build. Here's a great example is holsters. There's so many holsters out there nowadays that have these crazy cuts. So you can see these reliefs and these colors and bells and whistles and even fans these days.
Yeah.
Not naming any companies. But, there's just some out there stuff when it's like, we're both, like I said, kind of more practically minded individuals. That we build one thing that works, and we make sure it doesn't have anything that it doesn't need and has everything that it does, nothing more, nothing less. If it's something that's, purely cosmetic, it doesn't really need to be there. And I think that kind of trend follows through with a lot of the things that we do. Slide milling, like Will was saying, we give very kind of what works, some nice basic, things that are functional, and just can help enhance an experience and, keep it on that more practical mindset.
What I like to see is when a customer leaves our shop, whether it's someone with their first gun or someone with their 50th gun, I want them leaving the shop thinking, okay, I can do this. I have the rip grip. God forbid my hands are bloody, sweaty, anything like that. I still have this thing that gives me the confidence. And especially like one of our biggest examples is women. They're one of the fastest growing groups in the shooting community. And when it comes to things like pulling back, say, a Glock 19 or a Glock 17, a lot of them, they have the arm strength. It's the actual grip on the slide that they have trouble with.
I've noticed that
in
teaching myself.
Exactly. With the rip grip, they actually don't physically have to bear down on the slide because of the amount of grip. So if that's one less thing they have to think about in that oh shoot moment of, everything's going down and I need to get my gun, I need to make sure this happens. If there's a malfunction, it's okay because they don't have in the back of their mind, I can't rack this gun back, or I have trouble racking this gun back. And when it comes to holsters, we get a lot of people who worry about, someone's going to see my gun. What if my gun falls out? All this stuff. And we kind of made a pledge when we started the company that if we wouldn't carry it, it does not leave the door.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer in that. If it takes us 3 to 4 times to get something right, so that I know when it goes out there that I can sleep at night, then that means the customer can sleep at night knowing they got the best quality they could.
We hear that a lot as CEO instructors. Just one of the biggest concerns is all right, somebody's going to see my gun.
Yeah.
We hear it constantly.
It's everyone's concern,
Yeah.
I think, when they first start. I mean, I think we all remember when we first started carrying it, feels like you've got a bazooka.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
everyone knows. But,
Yeah.
I think most people, like, I remember you said to me, it's just like, if you take time to actually, you try to be the person that's looking for everyone's gun, you can't find them. You can't find them.
Especially if someone's carrying a gun well. I like to use the example, especially like you said, uncomfortable, first off, and then it feels big. But I tell people, it feels like you're carrying around a boat anchor that's on fire attached to your belt.
Exactly.
Because it is uncomfortable at first. So I think it's fair to say that. So your whatever it is that you guys are doing, you don't want anyone to have to think about whatever they have modified to their gun, added to their gun, so they can focus on the objective or the problem, the situation, and not have to worry about, is my rip grip, did it finally get too wet to where now the glue isn't working and it slips off when I need it? Because we've all seen products, not similar to yours, but products in the gun world that have failed miserably at the moment of truth.
But that's also the thing with the rip grip of, a big problem, which personally, I always have incredibly sweaty hands. Anxiety problems. That's something I always deal with. And there's a lot of guns, especially with the Smith & Wesson, the way they angle their back serrations. If you have wetness on the gun, if I have a malfunction, if I have sweaty hands, I know I won't be able to clear it. And there's certain things like that, knowing that that's there. I think for a lot of people, we get a lot of older folks with weak grip strength, arthritis. Right. But that's a really big thing for them. And it's just a lot of, just cutting out those small little areas of uncertainty. And like you had just said, something that's really basic, I tell a lot of people, it's Michigan. If you guys can look outside, we've got about 10 inches of snow coming down right now, and everything is wet. Chances are, if you have to use a carry gun, if it lands in 5 months out of the year, good chances are you have gloves on your hands, or everything around you is wet. It's just little things like that, cutting out small areas of uncertainty, cutting out small areas that, could lead to probability.
And I don't know how you guys look at why you carry a gun every day, but the way I think about it is it's an insurance policy. Just like getting your homeowner's insurance, your dental insurance, your health insurance, all that stuff, you hope you never have to use it, but if it's there, it's there. And like a homeowner's policy or anything like that, you want everything ironed out in the beginning so that when that moment happens where you have to react or, you have to take care of business or what it be, you don't have to think about all those things. Am I going to be able to draw my gun? Is my gun going to be in my holster? Am I going to be doing this? You can focus on what you have to do and then worry about all that later, because I hate people who don't want to carry a gun because it's heavy or clunky or all that. It's like, no one wants to pay insurance on the house. No one wants to pay insurance in the car. And you think about it, it's like you get in the car, you put a seatbelt on every day. How many times have you put a seatbelt on in your life? Millions, right? How many times have you really needed it?
We saw some people that needed it today.
Speaking of that,
in our video earlier.
Course, but
everyone
thinks they're the best driver and they'll never need it, but you still wear it.
Well, maybe you are the best driver, but there are other people that are crashing into you.
Exactly.
So it's not you are doing anything that's irresponsible or unsafe. It's the people in the space walking through the world around you that you are preparing your gear, yourself, your mind, your body, your family, your friends, whatever. You are preparing them for that.
Exactly.
Like me and Will, I think always use the term, that sense of accountability of actions.
Right. There's an amount of responsibility.
Responsibility, exactly. That's another
for whether it's you have how many times I know we've all had to have seen this at least once, but you buy a $900. Somebody buys a $900 gun and they walk out with a $20 holster that has zero retention. It might as well be in a tube sock.
Yes.
Right?
We see the Uncle Mike's type holsters, the gun show nylon holsters all the time. And that scares me. The reason I prefer Kydex over leather, over nylon, over any of that stuff is Kydex does not bend. I'm not worried about getting that fold over in my trigger guard and, the trigger going off, especially if you're carrying something like a Glock or a Smith & Wesson M&P. It's very easy for that hinge trigger to go into the rearward position. Especially if it's caught on a piece of clothing or something like that.
Coat dongle or something.
Exactly. And another reason that I like Kydex, and I know Aaron does, is I like that audible click that comes with it. I like knowing that, okay, 1 is none and 2 is 1 kind of deal. So that I feel the gun go in, I feel it, I hear it audibly clicking. So now I have an audio and a physical, check. And that gives me the peace of mind that, okay, that gun's there when I need it. Let me go about my day.
Right. I've been carrying a Kydex holster for years, several years. And I had, you know, I've come across some good ones. I've come across some bad ones. I've been in a class where on my draw stroke, and I bring my gun up to presentation, I realize the holster is still attached to my gun. So
Let me ask
obviously
you a quick
that's bad.
question. Were you using a plastic clip?
That's where I was going to ask. Yeah, I was using a plastic clip. Here's my question. How can people look at a holster and say, that's a good holster, that's a bad holster? Can you do that? Oh, and then you know, quantify
A
that.
huge way to start the thing is it for concealment for a carry, or is it for something you're taking to the range for that regard?
Let me go grab a blue gun just to explain.
Let's say that this is specifically going to be for concealed carry, inside of the waistband.
Yep.
It doesn't matter, you know, appendix or around somewhere.
I mean, the most important things that anyone's looking for there, obviously, is, in my opinion, the first thing is how it attaches to the body. Because like you said, that's in the crucial moment, that could be the thing that really can, for lack of a better word, ruin your day. Clip holsters, you know, those plastic clips that you will often see on a lot of the cheap holsters. Some people will use them for IWB, but it's not their intended purpose. Those are for, you know, to easily clip onto a belt or something outside the waistband. You know, if you're using something interior on your body, we always run, you know, double soft loops on things. That way we know for a fact that A, they're attached to your belt line, they're not going anywhere, even if one of them happens to fail, which wouldn't happen, but if it would, you still have another holding your gun to you. And you know, there's a lot of other ways around that. We also offer, you know, in our holsters, we do have a clip holster that's made with the Ulti-Clip, which I know a lot of other companies use. I think you know
I have one.
Yeah.
I got it so I could present that to ladies in classes.
We sell
or
a lot
dudes that
of
are in the
these.
gym, you know.
We sell
don't
a
need,
lot
you
to
know,
nurses,
Yes.
doctors. I hate to say it. We sell a lot of multi-clip holsters to people who weren't supposed to carry in their line before. Of course.
I can't remember.
Exactly. But, you know, their whole thing is, like, we talked to some surgeons and some doctors. They said there's a lot of crazy people that are in a hospital.
Yep.
And I don't want to be the one that has to walk to their car at 4 in the morning and have that patient that's mad at me for something come at me.
Sure.
You know, everyone's in the mindset that they want to go home to their family and they want to continue their life. I don't think there is any concealed carrier that wants to have to pull their gun and use it. I would hope so. I would hope not, you know.
If there is a person like that, he carries outside the waistband.
Exactly. Yeah. But getting back to what to look for.
What are we looking for?
What to look for in just your basic, say you walk up to a Kydex holster stand, what are the things that I would say to look for? First of all, is there a nice clean sight channel on the front? Are your sights going to snag when you're dragging that gun in and out of the holster? Another big one is the ejection port blocked out correctly? Because you'll get a lot of people who be, oh, I've got this really sweet holster, and they go to pull it out, and they have to do this dance where they can't get the gun out.
I've got one of those somewhere.
Yep, exactly. And that's because the flex point is down the center of the holster. So the closer in you have retention, the more force is going to be needed. So we block out, as you can see here, anything that can cause a snag, whether it's a safety, a slide release, a pin that's pushed out too far, like this one here, serrations that are located down the gun, anything that you're looking at your gun and you think that could snag if something is pressed up against it. We eliminate all of that because effectively I want the gun to be able to drop into the holster and then click one time. That way it's...
What's it clicking around?
It is clicking around the front of the trigger guard. Okay. It's the only place that we... Oh, do you have your holster?
Yeah,
is the only place that we create retention.
So you can even hear it by the microphone.
Yeah. So you can hear the gun slides in nice and smooth, and then there's one audible click every single time. Those are all also adjustable. So say you're training on the range, and some people prefer to have a looser holster. They can always loosen it. I don't recommend that. I say run what you carry. But some people like the gun so tight that they can barely pull it out. So we give them that adjustability, but we eliminate all the issues. So you're not going to have holster rub. You're not going to have multiple snag points. The gun's always going to drop in smoothly and click one time. you're always going to get that audible click. And then there's also some really cool features we have, like this one here is called our Traveler holster. So as you can see, it has 2 high sweat guards, one on the inside and the outside. This is great for guns like the Shield because they rust heavily. Sadly, it's just the type of steel they use, but all of them rust eventually.
I thought it was because of Aaron's sweaty hands.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You do also have to realize that, you know, you are sweating in these holsters and all that stuff. But I prefer this for 4 o'clock carry because instead of having to do the game where you poke to find your holster, with these 2 wings, if you follow the outside of your body, drop the nose in, let the gun drop right down and click 1 time. So that eliminates the need to think about where your holster is because we can all naturally follow the line of our body.
Right.
Once you feel that muzzle stop, you're going to know it's in kydex by the noise. Drop it right in, click it right in, and then that's all you have to worry about.
Okay.
You know,
I like that. That's great. That's great. So it keeps you from having to run your thumb around looking, which there's really nothing wrong with doing that, but
of course not.
It helps. It helps you not have to take your eyes off of what you're looking at, so you can holster your gun. We've all seen that really awkward pull up my coat, trying to look under my arm, holding my gun up weird. Exactly. We've seen that, and you don't want to be that person.
Exactly. You have to remember that everything you carry, you need to be able to access with 1 hand. So, you know, if you're down one-handed, are you going to be able to holster that gun?
Right.
Are you going to be able to get that shirt out of the way to put the gun in the holster and make it safe so that you can go about business, whether that's plugging the holes you just put in someone, tending to people, or getting the hell out of there? You know, the last thing you want is to be running around with a gun when you don't need that gun. You know, we all see those videos of the concealed carrier shoots the person and then just sits around waving the gun around, waiting for the police. You know, walking around with it in their hand.
It's never, you know.
It's never up or it's never down. You know, they're flagging people. They don't know who's in the convenience store, what's in the convenience store.
Okay, for that, you think that's something? This is off topic. Is that, in your opinion, you guys, is that something that's a lack of training, or is it just a completely stress-induced, you've never trained for?
I would go with it's a lack of training. And from what I've seen, we've all taken the CPL class here in Michigan. It was the scariest day of my life.
Oh, I know. Oh my gosh.
When I'm the most qualified firearms person in the room, it is time to leave. It is. I'm just letting you know, it is time to leave, people. And our instructor, I'm not going to name where it was or who it was, did not know the difference between a single action gun and a double action gun. So at that point, you have to remember this is, for probably 75% of this class, this is the only training they're going to receive to be able to carry a gun in public.
It's so sad too. I offer, well, and our instructors, right? We both teach, and I offer two free hours of training in my classes every time. Every student that comes through my place, I'm like, come back to me, and we'll go to the range, and I will help you, or we'll just go shoot. Exactly. You know, I don't care. I've never had anybody take it up. I've gone through, I think, about 150 people through a class.
Yeah,
no single one of them has ever come back.
No, because everyone feels that their way is right, or, you know, maybe some people can't afford it, and that is something to take in consideration. But for a lot of the people, they think, oh, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I don't need that. I just came to this class to get a piece of paper. And I'm all for everyone carrying, you know, if you feel like you need to carry, but there's a responsibility that comes along with it.
We've talked about that. You know, people, I don't remember how you say it. You have a really good way of saying it. People want the liberty, but not the responsibility.
Everybody wants their rights. Everybody wants their freedom to be able to carry, but nobody wants the responsibility of what goes along with carrying a gun.
Exactly.
Well, Trek puts it a good way too. He looks and says, you know, freedom is being able to hand somebody enough rope to hang themselves with it, or use that same rope to erect monuments of freedom and liberty. So it's your choice in how you choose to use that rope.
Of course.
I mean, I think I just butchered what Trek says. So sorry, man. Sorry, Holmes. I'll buy you a beer. That's Trek and a beer. Let's see. What else? Well, Aaron, has done, well, let's see, he's done some graphic work for another business of mine, Southpaw Knots. He's done basically everything. That's everything that's
shameless
cool.
plug.
Everything that's cool.
Southpaw
That's
Knots.
on paper.
What's the address?
Yeah, what's the Instagram?
How do we find you?
I'm not worried about that.
But
He's also done the logo for this podcast.
Yeah.
The Everyday Carry Options podcast. He's doing more logo work for my CPO classes. So Aaron gets a lot of my check. But how much do you find that you are doing? Like, how much of what's coming through the business is website design, graphic design?
I'll tell you this. First of all, website design, I would, in most situations, I would sooner chew off my own feet than create a website. You would have to be my mother, my best friend.
That's how I got it.
Or be putting up a big sum of money to get me to do a website for you. Just because web design. Oh, I said it from. Web design blows. It's just not fun work, and it sucks. So I don't try to advertise the fact that I do web design.
Okay.
Sorry about
no.
But graphic design is always something people are out for. Especially in this industry where you have a lot, like we were just talking about, a lot of the same thing. Everyone's got their logo with the skull and the bullets and the distressed font and blood splatter.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said to you. Is I don't want guns, bullets, Black Hawk helicopters. I don't want any of that.
Yeah,
is that why we need to get a Black Hawk helicopter?
There's so much of
I-
this one look, and everyone uses the damn stencil army font. It's just very homogenous, and it's just just coming from someone. I've been a designer since I was a kid. It's like I've always been designing stuff and artistic, and I've been doing branding for people for over 10 years, and there's just such a need as someone who enjoys that kind of a thing, like seeing that area of a community that just needs so much help. And it just needs a little bit of design interjected in it. Because there's some people that do some great work, but like I said, across the board, it's a lot of the same thing and a lot of.
We need some variety.
Exactly, some variety is nice.
Absolutely.
And to bring it into the current age, that there's a certain way that people are designing now that a lot of the companies that are in the gun world kind of are, let's say, about 10 years behind on the design elements. And not to mention just typically. Gun people don't go hand in hand with being tech savvy. That just, is kind of seems to me a coincidence. Most people that are pretty technical don't know much about technology. It's just, like I said, I'm sure there's some people that are not like that, but the majority. And so you find a lot of places, and I'm sure all of our listeners right now who shop online and do that thing, you go to a website of a tactical place or, holsters, gear, anything like that. Usually the websites are awful. And really hard to use. Your shopping cart crashes out. It's just like I said. There's a need there for that kind of stuff.
I think a lot of the tactical community is like me, and where if my email doesn't work, it doesn't work. I call Aaron and say it's not working.
And email just doesn't not work.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I think a lot of us are geared to more physical things. So it's
you better get the internet on the phone.
Yeah, exactly. Call the internet. I need help.
If you got a phone number to the internet,
yeah.
I had me on Skype the other day. I'm going to check my email.
Two different worlds. A lot of people think of it like, they have a mechanical mindset of well, if this is wrong, then this problem must be this. And if this gets fixed, then this must be. It's no, anything with technology, communications,
and I
social media, it's all
we come at it differently because we're not like any other firearms company or tactical company. Or
you guys aren't Navy SEAls? Army
no,
Rangers?
Not Navy SEAls.
You're not
Army
Ninja?
Rangers.
I
No.
didn't know that.
I took ninja.
What are we doing here?
I took ninja school, but my somersaults were not too good, so they kicked me out. It was something to do with my stomach or something. But we're not. I'm a guy from. I've lived in the South most of my life. I've shot all my life. Hunted. I started out skeet shooting, got into handguns, rifles, all that stuff. Aaron, my business partner.
I grew up the only openly gay kid in a town of out in the boondocks. So I figure if I made it out of there for 18 years without getting murdered, I should probably take pretty good precautions for the rest of my life.
That's what I'm
Yeah, I'm not going to get that lucky with the rest of my life.
But you know, it's like,
keep those numbers.
my favorite thing is to see the look on someone's face when they walk in the door, and you know, we're not all tattooed and all this, and there's, hey, how's it going, blah, 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 you know, and then people are like, I think it eases people's minds.
Yes.
You know, everyone comes in, you go into a gun store and everyone's so hyped up.
Yeah.
We're all veterans. Yeah, you know, which is great.
Veterans are great,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's like, it's almost an intimidation for some people.
Yeah.
I can't ask this question about this gun because he's going to tell me I'm stupid.
I had a customer tell me, he was like, I got scared when I went somewhere, and the first thing they said was, we're a veteran-owned company. And that's awesome, and I appreciate everyone who goes and does that stuff.
Yeah.
But I forget who it was. It may have even been Mookie.
Ben Thomas.
Yeah, Ben Thomas, who said, you know, it's like, you're back in the States now. It's like, you gotta back it with the reasons why you do what you do.
Right.
You know, it's like, you've got a lot of great training and a lot of great information and everything from, you know, being in the military and going overseas and doing all that stuff. Come back and apply it to civilian life.
Yeah. Right.
Because it is different, you know,
It
it's a whole different way of thinking. It's a whole different mindset. And there's a lot of cross paths to it.
Mhm.
But I feel like every time I sit down and talk with, like, say Ben, who was a former Navy SEAL, worked with Blackwater, all that stuff, we come at things from two totally different points of view
Right.
with the same end goal.
You cross in the middle and figure it out there.
Yeah, exactly.
I've talked with Ben several times. I know he's we're mutual friends. I really think Ben has a unique and interesting way. Not because of, I don't think it's because of his military background. I think it's, well, you know, maybe it's not because of what he learned in the military. I think it's what he learned while he was in the military.
Yeah.
You know, the experiences he had, not from learning about being, you know, going through buds and whatever, but I think, man, he's just got a fantastic way of seeing things.
He has a very positive outlook on life. And, you know, I think it's, you know, because he'll be the first to admit he wasn't the greatest person growing up.
Right.
You know, and we're not all the greatest people, but it's how you're able to change and adapt to, you know, the new things you learn. And that's why I'm always all for hanging out with people with different political beliefs, religious beliefs, whatever it may be, because you're going to learn something. Maybe you might not think what everything they say is okay, but there might be a little spark that makes you think about something, evolve and change who you are for the better.
So when you go to Alien Gear Holsters,
What company?
They have a fan.
When you go to Alien Gear Holsters.
Okay, yeah. They create toys. So when we go back to, like, say, holsters, a good holster doesn't need a fan in it.
Right.
A good holster doesn't need 8 hours of battery life with a little blinky light.
Good holster shouldn't be big enough.
Exactly. You know, all that stuff is just stuff that can go wrong, in my opinion.
Oh, bad stuff.
It's bad.
It's trying
It's-
to sell something. That's
Of course.
new and
Well,
unique, you know.
it's so many people for so long. It's like, you know, it's a holster, people. There's not much you can do with it. Like a lot of people say, it's a sock. You know, something goes into it. There's really not all that much for the ceiling to go after you build a great holster that works. If you get people, well, what do we have to do to be different this year?
Well, look at what is it, Raven? I think it's Raven Vanguard. It just covers the trigger guard and the trigger.
Mhm.
That's all a holster has to be.
Technically, yeah.
So why are we doing all these other things? And I don't want to
It's-
go. I don't want to get way off topic.
It's
on that.
consumerism. You know,
You're right.
they want to buy something. And the unfortunate factor is that a lot of the new people that come into the industry, they look at that and they're like, oh, this is cool.
Exactly.
I gotta go out, I gotta buy this thing. And then they get old and jaded like the rest of us and go, well, why the hell did I buy that stupid thing for? You know, and that, I mean, I was bad at that. When I first got into the industry, I had no clue. I just went, I got a Glock and I'm gonna find something cool to put on it.
Yeah, I need this, and I need this, and this.
And I did this, and I did this, and I was like, this is cool.
And it was completely void of any critical thought
Yes,
because you
there's
didn't
nothing.
know you needed to critically think about
Yeah.
a gun. You learn a lot about critical thought when, especially when you start taking classes from people who teach really good gun classes. where there is critical thought involved.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's people like buying stuff. It makes you feel good when you buy stuff.
Of course.
So
It makes you feel like a part of something. There's a
does.
lot of people in that community that, they want to feel an attachment towards these like people and brands and ideals, which I think, transcends for them a lot of.
But that's our culture these days.
Exactly.
Everyone wants to wear the Nike or, the LeBron jersey or whatever it is. Whoever's the newest, hottest person, you're going to want their stuff.
And you get a lot of those guys too that, they want to rep the gear from all these guys.
Which is cool.
They think they're badass. It's like, they've never left Indiana before.
Right.
Which is fine. But it is what it is.
I've come to find out that, I used to shoot competitions every week. And I would show up and my ammo would be in a Captain America lunchbox. And, my mags might be in a grocery bag. And, I didn't have the nicest stuff, but that didn't matter. Because you go to the guy who's got there with the, $4,000 gun and the $300 holster, the this and the that and the tactical boots and all this stuff. And they can't even hit the target.
We don't want to say it because it's such a cliche, but in the tactical community, it's very true. Where a lot of the times the guy doing all that stuff is just overcompensating for his lack of skill.
Right. Yeah. You cannot solve a software problem with a hardware solution.
This is true.
That's what it comes down to.
That's a good way to put it.
And I hate when people say, I can shoot this gun, but I can't shoot that gun. If you know the basic fundamentals and you've had that drilled into your head and all right, grip, sight picture, trigger control, everything, you should be able to get the job done with most any gun. And I just see so many people in the gun industry cubbyhole themselves, into I'm only using this gun, I'm only using this type of holster, I'm only carrying this way, only this ammunition. And it's like, what are we learning? How are we evolving?
If there's something better out there, you're not going to try to get stuff.
Especially because lately things are changing quick. The way technology just goes, things are changing quicker than they have.
Evolution of the 9mm round.
Yeah,
exactly. The last 3 years, we've seen the 9mm go from, it's okay, but it's not great. So it's pretty much doing what everything else is doing.
Everybody's switching to, all the
I think everybody, FBI, all the
all
alphabet soup people are switching over to
It's
the
just showing
9mm.
that, as technology increases in one area, it's rendered an entire hot debate completely dead. Where it's like that whole thing that used to be such a topic of people, comparing rounds. Like, is it now?
Oh gosh, let's not get into that.
No, it's almost like
You're carrying 25 ACDs. You guys can all just
At the end of the day, whenever this conversation comes up, I ask this question. Tell me what round do you want to be shot with?
Yeah.
Right.
I don't want to be shot with my kid's Red Ryder.
Exactly. No
Well,
one
they shot with their Nerf gun.
No
Are you
one's
kidding me?
ever going to want to be shot with a 22, whatever it be. But when you're on the other side of the story, everyone's ego wants to take over. It's like, I'm sorry, a gun is a gun, a bullet is a bullet, Maybe there's different ballistic effects, but, with the 22, you pull the trigger enough and you can take down what you need to take down.
especially nowadays where, just for the price point, there used to be such high bashing of cheaper guns, but last couple of years, pretty much every gun that's around, between, let's say, $300 and $500, that you can pick up, like your basic carry guns. All of those are so comparably similar.
Right.
They all do the similar thing. They're all made pretty decently well.
All those reliable.
Yeah, they're all
Exactly,
reliable
yeah.
as each other.
They're Coke and Pepsi.
Exactly. We're getting to this point now where it's
Why do we have to start debating?
See?
it's nice though, because we're getting to a point where those kind of frivolous conversations are starting to fade into the back.
And
and you
real things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Start
exactly.
talking about real things. And
Yeah, like who are you going to take training class with?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's stop collecting guns. Oh my gosh, the gun works in Hagen.
Yeah, exactly.
Collecting guns.
What?
Start collecting, made for training certificate.
But this one has new sights, man.
Oh man, I know. Glock 5, Glock Gen 5. It's fine.
It's got no triggers or finger grooves.
Oh,
I know.
dude,
I cut mine off.
Yeah, I have a drum too.
you're going to shoot so much farther, faster, and better.
Yeah, without those triggers on it.
And one of my favorite things is
21-foot sniper.
Yeah. We do Facebook posts all the time. And occasionally I'll post what I'm carrying. I carry a Glock 19 as my daily gun. And then in my pocket, I carry a Ruger LCP. Now, most people will laugh. Why carry a gun smaller than your backup gun or than your primary gun, all that stuff. And then I say this, I don't carry a backup gun because I think my primary gun is going to fail or malfunction or anything like that. I carry a backup gun because some of the people I'm with don't carry a gun. Now, they can shoot a gun, but they can't carry a gun. So like say I'm with my parents, say my mother. If I'm in a restaurant and something went down, I know she can shoot this gun because it's point and pull the trigger. There's no safety, no nothing. So I can say, here, have this, and I can remove myself or move myself away from her. Exactly, to go do what I need to do or whatever it be. So that whole argument of, why carry a gun if it's smaller than your first gun or all that stuff, it's like, you got to remember everyone has a reason for doing it. And, if you're carrying a second gun because you think your first gun's going to malfunction, you might want to think about picking up a new primary gun.
Agreed. It's hard to argue with that.
I think things like, when we get back into the guns and the ammo and the sights and the additions, I said in the podcast before, I'll do anything that's going to give me that 0.01% faster on that.
Of course.
But it actually has to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there's so much stuff out there that's it's just glamorized and this is cool stuff. Let's just throw it on there. It doesn't do absolutely anything for you because that's what we talked about. We've lacked in that critical thinking of why are we doing what we're planning on doing? Why do we need to do it this way? Or why are we going to put night sights there?
That's Aaron's favorite word. So all over the shop, I used to plaster the question, why?
Why?
So that when we're cutting a holster or we're Cerakoting, you're asking yourself, what is the meaning behind what I'm doing? And that translates all the way through building the Kydex holster to carrying the holster to, carrying a gun to, performing what duties you need to perform. You always have to ask yourself the why. And if you ask yourself the why and you can justify it, then it makes sense. Like I carry an RMR every day. I have horrible eyesight. I don't carry it because it's cool. I carry it because when I stick up normal iron sights, my eyes go focus, 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 focus. They change back and forth, back and forth. Versus with an RMR, I can focus on my target and that dot pops up. So that gives me that 0.001% advantage. And it gives me that confidence that I'm not drawing the gun thinking, oh crap, are my eyes good today?
Which one of them is drunk?
Yeah, exactly. No, pretty much is how it feels. It's like my plane of view changes and changes and changes.
What you always say, Matt, the thing that you always feel like is the thing that I got from you is the situation.
Situation dictates.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think it's so incredibly true. It's such a good way to say it. Like, like you said, you have bad eyes, so you use an RMR. My eyes are really bad, and so I don't use RMRs because anything I use, I always make sure that I can use it without my glasses. And there's very, very, very few sights that I can actually still see when I don't have my glasses on. And most RMRs, I just can't. And so I always know for that reason, it's just, for that reason.
Situation.
Yeah, for that reason, I'm out.
But see, you're making a reasonable, justified assessment and
educated.
I've also
exactly, not just, I saw this in Recoil magazine.
They got batteries.
Exactly. And
Batteries
I
on
also try
front.
them. It's like I will physically try them myself.
Sure.
I'm looking at sites. I won't just make that, assumption without ever seeing it in person. Because, certain things like take these off and you're surprised.
What do I look like now?
Yeah,
Exactly. A silhouette.
That's why I love those things.
Well, at least you can see them.
Yeah.
You were talking about Cerakote.
Yes.
Okay. First of all, what is Cerakote?
Cerakote is.
And this is Aaron's.
This is my bag. Cerakote is, everyone knows it by now. It's a kind of paint. It goes on your guns. But why do people use Cerakote?
Yes. What is it?
Because I'll tell you who uses Cerakote. Firearms industry uses Cerakote. Automotive uses Cerakote. Even eyeglasses will use Cerakote.
Motorcycle industry.
Yep, motorcycle. A lot of people don't know the eyeglasses one.
I wasn't aware.
Yeah, it's because Cerakote is the thinnest, pretty much the thinnest paint, you could say, that is going to be the most durable enamel applied. It's actually a ceramic-based material. And it's going to go on any material. It's heat resistant. It's everything resistant. Essentially, it is the closest that we currently have to an all perfect coating. It's going to be harder than any kind of paint, any kind of coating. A good thing that I always tell my customers, it's a really good representation of like how tough Cerakote is when you're Cerakoting, the first thing you have to do is you have to remove the existing finish on a gun. And you do that by sand and bead blasting. And it usually takes 45 seconds to a minute to strip a slide of its coating. If you have to remove Cerakote off of the slide, it can take you like 3, 4, 5 minutes just blasting through the coating just because it's so tough. You'll even notice too, guns that you have Cerakoting your holster wear on them, it's just a lot less. It's just really, really strong. You know, the thing that I think Cerakote has that it doesn't have going for it at this time is a lot of people, from my experience, have had bad experiences. There's a lot of people out there that do Cerakote that don't really do it well. You know, like any kind of painting, any kind of chemistry, anything, it's incredibly, you know, processed. The process has to be perfectly ironed out or you won't get a good end result. And I think there's a lot of people I've met that come in because they've gotten Cerakote work done elsewhere that was not good, and that kind of scared them off of it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because of a bad coder, because it's one of those things, you know, I'll be the first to admit, there's a steep learning curve to it. You know, it probably took me, I've been Cerakoting for almost 4 years now. I'd probably say it took me a full year before I would, you know, got comfortable enough that I was putting stuff out that I was happy with, just to get, you know, the flatline process down. And so I've noticed that there's kind of this like, for lack of a better word, this like untrustworthy like nature about coatings like that, just because people have had bad experience with bad Cerakoters. Everyone had a bad experience with Duracoat just because it was crap. And you know, now Cerakote is here and it's great. It is really, it couldn't be better. You know, you can get every single color under the sun. You can do anything creative with it. I mean, you guys see all of our Instagram pictures.
Oh, yeah, we have some.
Yeah, we can, you know, with Cerakote, especially if you're a creative person, you know, the sky is the limit. As far as pigments go, like I said, I'm someone who used to work in the printing field. You know, the Cerakote is really nice pigments. They mix well, they behave well. It's a really good product. You know, I'll hand it to the company, you know, IFC Coatings that make Cerakote. You know, in the like 4 years I've been coating, I think I've only had 2 instances where I've had a paint that had to get sent back. And in pigments, that just happens. You get bad batches of pigments. It, you know, sometimes it just happens. You know, pigments are very, very, for lack of a better word, you know, kind of not
cooperative.
Yeah, they're not super consistent. You know, it's just
not
the way
standardized.
Yeah, they're just, it's just the way, you know, the way of the world. And you know, it's just so few problems with Cerakote. It's just such a great product. You see why it's, you know, taken off and become
It's
an
very
industry leader.
weather resistant too. I know that Cerakote a few years ago did a campaign where they painted a rifle and had it sit out in the desert next to a tree,
I remember that.
and then went and fired it. You know, we find a lot of, I hate to say it, Smith & Wesson, they make great guns. The Shield, the M&P 2.0, the M&P, they rust like crazy. Every single one that's come through our door has some form of rust on it. Whether it's on the inside, on the outside, in the rails, you know, in the firing pin, you know, channel, stuff like that.
That place for rust.
It's a horrible place for rust.
I took
And, you know,
a gun sledding once, and that was,
That was the
yeah,
end
it's
result.
like,
yeah, exactly. So Cerakote just creates a nice durable layer. Some people claim that has a little bit more of a lubrous quality to it.
It
But
depends.
it depends,
On color
and I think it's negligible.
Yeah.
If you oil your gun properly, or you know, and take care of it and shoot it, you're not going to notice a difference. You know,
How does it hold up to like your standard firearm finishes, like compared to the Glock finish?
So,
Yeah, that's what I was explaining with the blasting it off. You know, it's
Okay.
and you can tell with holster wear is a really good representation too. Of, you know, everyone's got their standard holster wear on their Glock. Let's say, you know, right at the front on that round. I'd say when you have a Cerakote, it's about around 30% of the wear that you experience normally.
Cool.
So you know, you're almost
Pretty tough stuff.
You're almost 3 times as strong.
Yeah.
And that's coming from zero science and numbers. That's coming right,
Right.
off the top of my head from
Estimation.
someone who handles Cerakote, you know, on a daily basis.
I got a piece in custom piece I was working on Celtic Shield one time. I was trying to do some, it doesn't matter. I had to try to sand through Cerakote.
Oh, good
I
luck.
said, forget it. I told them, send it back. Sorry, not gonna happen.
Yep,
It's not working.
and you
So
know,
that was that for me. That was I'm sold.
Yeah.
So,
we get about half of the people who get Cerakote for cool, fun ideas. You know,
Okay.
I want my gun to look cool, or, and then we get people who come like, you know, police officers, SWAT officers, stuff like that, where I need this gun to match the environment I'm in.
Yeah.
Whether it's they were issued a desert tan gun and they work in the city and they would prefer it black, or hi, I'm a sniper out in this county where, you know, most of the stuff I set up on is a hostage negotiation at a farm where I'm sitting in a cornfield. So it's going to be tan or more yellows or camos in that way with some dirt versus this big black gun sticking out. So it can help you in that way, and it can also add personality to your firearm. You know,
I mean, because let's face it, the majority of, you know, like you said, it's probably half and half, and you'd be surprised how many people do Cerakote just for the longevity purpose. You know, they have a nice gun that means something to them, and they just don't want to see it rust away.
we have a lot of heirlooms come in. Hey, we have this old hunting rifle. We know it's blued now, but we want to use it. What can we do so where I don't have to wipe down or worry about every fingerprint or everything like that? We can shoot it with a nice flat black or an armor black, and you know, it's going to look like a nice subtle job. It'll look like a nice clean gun again. It won't change the function or performance, but it'll give those people, you know, they'll feel a little bit better about what they're
They
doing.
can use it. It's not
I
going
think
to
it's
fall
still
around.
a personal durability thing. You know, I'm someone personally who I don't really clean out my guns all that much, probably as well as I should. You know, I just kind of like blowing it a little, call it a good day. I carry a shield,
Throw on
you
the
know?
shirt.
Yeah,
exactly.
But it's nice because with Cerakote, you know, you can douse it in acetone. You know, it doesn't.
Put it in the dishwasher.
Yeah, and you can literally do anything to it. You know, you can scribble on it with Sharpie and then, you know, use any chemical, and that chemical is going to take off the Sharpie and leave your Cerakote finish alone.
That's cool.
You know, especially even on polymer frames, you know, you can't always do that with chemicals. Chemicals can eat the polymer. You know, Cerakoting a polymer frame, I think, protects it in a nice way.
While we're talking about frames and Cerakote, one thing I do want to mention is if you get your gun Cerakoted or you're looking to purchase a gun that's already been Cerakoted, say a handgun like a Glock, set the mags in and make sure the mags drop free first.
Before you walk out of the shop.
Before you walk out of the shop or walk out, you know, because the last thing you want to do is be in that oh shit moment where you go to grab your mag and put the mag in, and now you're stuck with the mag and the gun and this one here, and you're looking up at your, you know, what you need to look at. And now you're trying to reach over and pull this mag up and drop this one in, all because someone didn't take the time to block that off.
And there's two reasons that happens, you know, and one of them is a reason that a lot of people don't think about. One, you have some people that they don't block off the interior of the, you know, the magazine, so inside of your frame ends up being blasted or coated in some way, which gives it a slight texture. You also get some people that will bake their polymer parts at a too high of a temperature. And that'll actually cause your frame to slightly warp.
Yep,
And that
some distortion.
rectangle is now, you know, slightly convex on all sides. And so you'll get that too, which is one that, you know, isn't quite as easily fixed.
Right.
It melts.
You know, my biggest thing when I tell people about Cerakote, you know, I get so many questions about it a day, because it's really, the more and more we become as a company, it's really become a bigger and bigger part of what we do, especially now that people are kind of, you know, a little more trustworthy of it, let's say. You know, I even tell them, it doesn't matter if you're getting Cerakote through me or anyone, you know, it's like, I can vouch for myself, but just do your research. You know, don't just go get Cerakote done willy-nilly. Not only, you know, pictures are great. Everyone can see pictures. You want to see customer feedback with Cerakote.
Yeah.
You want to hear, you know, for instance, I can confidently say, in, you know, 3 years of Cerakoting, we've never had an unhappy customer with Cerakote. You know, it's just one of those things that you really want to just investigate before you make the decision, just because, like I said, there's just some people out there who aren't the smartest or the brightest, and they're not doing the best job. And you don't want to be someone that experiences that. So just do your research and find a good, reputable company that's been doing it for a while.
I'm sure you guys have noticed that in the gun world, say Kydex holsters come in, there's 50 companies that are doing Kydex holsters. The next year, there's 3,000 companies that are doing Kydex holsters.
Next
Oh,
year,
somebody's
it's
having success with this.
Yeah.
Well, I can do that.
I can do that too.
Yes,
Exactly.
and not know
I've had
the
our
details.
customers say, you know, hey, I'm thinking about getting into Kydex holsters. I said, that's great, but you realize that's not a lot of our business. You know, the market is so flooded.
Yeah.
And it's flooded. There's a lot of great companies that put out a lot of great holsters, but the majority of them are these little tiny mom and pop shops to where I shot a gun, therefore I can make a holster.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no engineering, there's no thought, there's no reason why they're doing what they're doing. They're just smashing it out, throwing a price tag on it, and sending it out.
That's
Yep.
why you can get a 25 holster.
Exactly. And with the amount of time that I put into a holster at $55 to $65, that's really where we can put it price wise. You
And
know,
that's a great price.
It's a
For
wonderful
for a good
price.
holster, that's a great
Um,
price.
and we don't mind. We love doing
I'm about due for some new holsters.
we love doing custom holsters.
Yeah.
But one thing we tell our customers, they'll get a quote for a custom holster, and the price is maybe double, sometimes triple what
Yeah.
another company would say.
Sure.
But Aaron can vouch for this. And if it's a custom holster, the holster that goes out is probably the 4th or 5th rendition that I've done.
Yep.
It's not the first one. On the
Exactly.
box.
I have a whole box just full of holsters that I said were no good.
Yeah,
This
not like
needs
this
to be
one.
changed. Exactly.
It's a process.
Yep.
It's a prototyping
Back to
process.
the thing that we won't put out anything that we don't trust.
You know, especially when it's a holster, it's, you know, it's not like you're just putting on muddy girl camo on someone's gun so they like it. You know, a holster is something that
It's
you
a
know,
life-saving
It
tool.
might
Yeah.
be the, you know, it could be something that someone depends on one day to save their life.
Well, we said it a lot, is that the life or death decisions are made at the cash register.
Exactly.
You know, and you can buy a cruddy holster, and guess what? When you need that thing to work, probably isn't going to
One of the
work.
mics is not to the rest.
You know, yeah, it's not. And maybe it works once
One of the,
for the range.
we have a customer, Kyle Hine. He's a professional athlete, bodybuilder, used to be a police officer, now he's a dad. Does bodybuilding, runs a few small companies.
Great guy.
Really, really good guy out of Lansing. And he called me one day. He was like, "Will, I just want to thank you for your holster." I was like, "Yeah, no problem." Why? He goes, "When I had my previous holster, I could not play with my kids."
Wow.
He goes, "I was worried about the gun falling out, wrestling around on the ground with my kids and all this." He goes, "Now I can play with my son. We can wrestle around. I don't have to worry about it. I know that gun's staying in the holster. It's not coming out. It's not going to become unattached from my belt or anything like that." So hearing that he's getting that confidence and that peace of mind to not have to remove his gun to, you know, carry out his daily activities.
There's no better compliment you can get about your product when they say, thank you for your holster because I'm confident around my children.
Yes.
There's no better, there's
Exactly,
nothing
yeah.
better you can hear.
You know, I'm not a parent, but I know what that means. you
Yeah,
know.
absolutely. Well, heck, you've met all 3 of my boys.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly, yeah.
You've met all 3 of my
You got some good kids.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. They're good boys.
Yeah.
My crazy monkeys.
Yeah.
I want to go back to something about the Cerakote.
Yeah.
And this is a kind of going around, don't put something on your gun, like don't put, I don't know, Punisher skull grips on your
Of course,
1911.
yeah.
So with what do you guys think in terms of Cerakote, when you're doing something, anything more than maybe I just want to re-black my gun, I just want maybe to put a different color on it. Do you think is it okay to put Pittsburgh Steelers or U of M
Yeah, I think it's completely fine.
on your gun and use it for carry that gun for self-defense?
I would put it this way: don't put anything derogatory or negative on your gun. You don't want to be sitting in the courtroom of, and they come up, like that officer who had "FU" written on the inside of his dust cover.
Right.
You don't want that. But if you're sitting in court and you had to make a decision to shoot someone to save your life or someone else's, and the lawyer says, "Well, you had a gun that was painted blue."
Yeah.
Okay, your car is green.
Yeah.
Just because you hit someone with a green car versus a yellow car, in my mind, doesn't mean anything. But if you put "screw you" on it, or
I'm out to kill.
or
Just
smiling for
yeah, or
Right.
I shoot till I hear click. Things like that we advise against.
Sure.
But there's nothing wrong with adding personality to your gun.
Chances are that you want that, we don't want you as a customer.
Exactly.
Right. Well, I think it's something that people wonder about because, being that Alex and I are both teaching classes, we get a lot of questions like, what do you think about? Is it okay? Should I carry a gun that?
You know, a lot of people too that will ask, like, I just posted up a picture of my gun, which I just coated it's like white, blue, bronze. It's a kind of unconventional color scheme right now. Someone, which we get a lot of people saying, you know, it's like, oh, well, now that's more appealing towards children, or it's like marketing towards like a wider group. It's just,
well, here's a good way that people can get that is if mom and dad do what they're supposed to do with the gun.
Exactly.
You take the responsibility to be responsible out of the children's hands and keep it in mom and dad's hands.
Yeah.
And then the kids are never in any danger. It's not, you can't put a candy bar in front of your kid and say, don't touch that.
No, of course. That's the first
Don't
thing
play
the
with
kids
that.
don't want to do. We were all young once.
I like Snickers though.
The
You know what I
bottom
mean?
line is when it comes to
God, man, I'm
Cerakote,
showing that thing down.
Right. So I think that's kind of idiotic.
exactly, because I mean, bottom line, does a color like a property like that, does it in any way affect how a gun works? No, zero, zilch, nada, in any way.
Are you going to put yourself in the situation where you have to, God forbid, pull the trigger and leave any doubt in your mind that the color of my gun is going to cause a problem?
Yeah,
You should be so certain in making that decision that that shouldn't even be a factor.
Right.
It should be so clear cut that the lawyer or the judge bring up, well, it's a purple grip, you know. That shouldn't matter because you did everything correctly by the book so that you could go home.
Yeah.
You know.
Personal preference. You know, I like that we have the ability now to use, especially now that Cerakote and even some other things, you know, now people sell like Hive has all those really cool, really brightly colored components.
Yep.
Some people are making their different colored grips, mag extensions. You know, it's kind of becoming a lot more cheap for people to create just a more unique look on their firearm, which I think is cool.
I'm carrying something that close to your body
Exactly.
and you take it out to the range. You gotta want it to be how you want it to
I
be.
completely agree.
It's like wearing a watch.
Yeah.
You know, everyone can go out and get a Timex watch. It does the same thing as a Rolex, but someone wears a Rolex because they like how it looks, or, you know, whatever it may be. Don't let someone else on the internet tell you, you know, something like, you can't carry a blue gun because you're going to go to jail if you ever use it, because their basis is on nothing. There are no court cases that said you had a hot pink gun, therefore you're a murderer.
Yeah.
And they didn't give you hell about it, but
They may give you hell and they might ask questions.
the prosecuting attorney's job is to give you hell about what you did.
Exactly.
So you could have done everything right, and they're going to make fun of you because you had an NRA t-shirt on.
Or you were wearing a black t-shirt.
You were wearing a
so that
black
you're
t-shirt,
scared.
so now you're scary, or you know, whatever. That's their job, is to prosecute you, and they're going to, they're going to do it regardless of how
And
you
we also have to
Yeah.
remember, we're civilians.
Yeah.
Police officers, it's a very touchy subject of, can they modify their firearms? Can they not? You know, or should they? But as civilians, we don't have to follow any of those guidelines. You know, I wouldn't recommend, you know, like we said, putting FU on your gun, or
I would recommend getting a tattoo.
exactly,
Right.
or you
It's
know,
in poor taste.
shut up and listen, something like that. But if you put, you know, we did a Smith & Wesson shield slide that had the Chicago skyline on it.
I saw
The police officer's badge number and his nickname on it.
Nice.
It's like,
There's a
that has
retirement
meaning.
piece though. Exactly. He
Yeah.
retired for, I think, after 35 years in Chicago.
Woo!
PD.
Yep.
It's like, you want to last 35 years in Chicago? No thanks.
And he carries that gun because, unlike a normal gun that puts on, he puts it on every day, and maybe he thinks about his son who gave it to him, or the time he had as a police officer, or whatever it is. You know, it means something to them. Just like, you know, everyone personalizes down to their car keys.
Yeah, even personal
What key
taste.
ring
Like,
you put on.
I don't own like black leather shoes or bags or gloves. I'm a brown guy, you know. I just like brown, so I don't like guns when they're black. You know, I just kind of like the color brown because black doesn't match anything I own. You know, even if it's a frivolous reason like that, you know, why not? You know, if there's so many people that, you know, it's Facebook, it's the internet, they're just looking to give someone a hard time. It's, you know, because guess what? If someone was colorblind, then they wouldn't even. You know,
That's a good point. That's a good
then
point.
no one would even know. If this was back in the day where you're just looking at, people are watching us here on, you know, black and white TV. Guess what?
Right.
They don't know what color guns we have. So
Exactly.
Well, so we have a customer question that wants to know if you can Cerakote Tom Brady's face on a gun.
I would.
Oh, I don't know.
You wouldn't, you'd love to.
I'm a Jags fan, so that might be a touchy subject.
I bet you could.
Those refs looked a little happy a few weekends ago, but we're not going to get into that.
Do we have any other questions, Alex?
No, that was the only one we saw.
Well, how can people, all right, they want to get their guns Cerakoted, they want to buy holsters from you, they need graphic design work. How do we get in touch?
Holland Tactical Solutions. If I've done my job right, then you should be able to Google that and we'll pull it right up.
I checked it earlier.
No,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yep, we've got Instagram, Facebook, we're on Google, we're everywhere, and we're easy to get a hold of, and we like to answer questions and talk, So if someone
like to talk?
Exactly, yeah.
Wow.
So if someone's, unsure of what kind of holster to get, or where to carry, or why to carry, or what, give us a call. We're in the business of guns to help people.
And exactly what we said in the first thing. It's like, no matter who you are and where you fall on the spectrum, because we've got this broad range of ideas, you'll find one of us that you relate to more.
Exactly.
And will kind of be more your style, so to speak. Which is really a good thing.
Yeah, you guys have a good thing going on.
I was thinking when you were talking about too, you'd said that like all the better known places, like I said, love it, but a big thing you had said is that kind of like intimidation factor. It's like, I'm not in the military. None of my family is military. I have some friends in the military, but that's about it. So it's like, if I'm coming up to a company like that, it's like, I just don't know what to talk to them about. It's like, I just feel like we're very different in our interests and everything like that. So I think it's just important, to have a broader range and just accept a broader range of people.
You should definitely have guys that you don't have to have ever been in the service or ever have to have been a police officer to own a company that's involved in the gun.
Yeah, and even like Ben Thomas says, he's someone has more experience in guns than a lot of people. But I say something similar to him. It's like
in guns that I think I want.
Yeah, exactly. He is a very similar way of like how I kind of think about things. He's like, I don't know how they work. It's like, to me, a gun is a tool. It's about as interesting as a hammer.
What
or
he told
a
me,
screwdriver.
he goes, I could not break down an AR-15. And I said, really? But you don't? He goes, so do you think a F1 driver can tear the engine out of an F1 vehicle, rebuild it, slap it back in, get in, and drive off?
Yeah, right.
No.
The guy knows how to drive.
Exactly. The guy knows how to drive.
He knows how to
Exactly.
drive.
Yep.
Moves on drive.
Yeah.
Yep, cacao.
Yeah.
Well, hey guys, I would just, thank you so much for having us out.
Yeah,
here.
no, we really appreciate
We definitely want to get you back on the show. We're going to have a video coming out about what we did here today.
Yep.
There was some pictures taken, some video. It was a lot of
More
fun.
video, more pictures, we'll put it all together. Yeah.
And we'll definitely come out your way. Maybe we can get together and go shooting.
Yeah, let's do
That'd be
some
awesome.
fun.
Because I know you guys you've carried an RMR for a while.
Yeah, I'm
I'm going to restart.
But you haven't. Maybe we can do a thing where you go out fresh and we shoot with RMRs and
Take her his first time.
Yeah. No, just like, because I probably shoot different than him when it comes to an RMR. I probably think differently about it. So it'd be interesting to hear different opinions.
Yeah.
See what works for you, because I see online there's a lot of stuff about everything but RMRs.
And like we said,
it's such a new thing.
No matter what way you go around it, it's super good. But even if you're someone whose stuff comes quick to you, it's a steep learning curve just because you're reprogramming what you've already taught your muscles in your body.
Yep.
And which is fine, because guess what? All that programming can just be edited and rewritten.
I like how it's
programming.
It is. It's
I
just
think
programming.
our show is so much better when we have guests.
It is. I keep
don't
saying
have
it.
to
No one
talk
wants to listen to us talk all day
as
long.
much. These guys are interesting. Everybody's tired of hearing me.
That's
Yeah,
true.
exactly.
Well, no, we've never met.
We've not
No.
Yeah, they've known me for a few years now.
I was going to say, it's been, 3 years? I was in a gun show and had one of SOE's combat cocks sitting on the table.
Oh, yeah, those are
And
our
then-
Yeah.
Go ahead. And then he was like, he asked me, he's like, so how do you know about this? And I told him, he's like, oh, I'm Matt Williams. I'm like, oh shit, I know about you, I saw you, and then we got talking, and
I'm just like, you see that guy's beard?
But it worked out great because Matt, like us, is I feel like you're open to ideas, you're open to new values and ways of learning, and you're trying to evolve and not stay stagnant in your training.
What's nice
I just want to learn.
You
I
don't
want to learn, and
have
I want to.
You have no ego.
Thank you.
Which is nice.
I make that a point, and it's something I'm trying to instill into my kids as well. So,
good.
as a dad, the more I learn, the more I can pass on.
Yeah.
The fewer stumbling blocks I stick in front of them, hopefully. So, but yeah, guys, I can't thank you enough for giving us your Sunday
Yeah.
So
That was well worth it. We appreciate it.
thank you very much for
That was-
Yeah.
We're going to brave the snow on the way back.
Yeah,
Let's hope
It stops
It
snowing.
looks beautiful out there now.
well, let's hope that we don't have to help more people.
Yeah,
out
let's
ruin
not
vehicles
help
on the
anybody
highway.
in a
Yeah.
truck.
Just be rude, just wave.
Suckers! Oh, yeah.
We got
Not
No, but we're super glad you guys came
Yeah,
out.
you guys so
Cool.
much.
You know, you guys are welcome anytime.
All right.
Thank you guys for watching.
Yeah.
All the viewers.
Yes.
Yeah, make sure you guys get in touch with Holland Tactical Solutions.
Yep. Give us a call, shoot us an email, and we'll help you out. Like us all on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube,
Yeah,
wherever we're
that
at.
stuff.
Like this video and subscribe to the channel.
All right, guys. See you later.
Bye.